Today is Friday, and once again, through the courtesy of Truth Be Told Radio Network, I'm broadcasting, and hopefully you are joining us. And in this every week's conversation, talking about health, talking about self-care. It is becoming more and more important because we are suffering and suffering the consequences. You know, I recently read a medical article that was very wisely saying that we will never have enough resources to take care of ourselves. I'm talking about healthcare. So we will never have enough resources for healthcare because we're too many, and there are too many things to do. You have to begin from how you sleep, how you eat, where you work, what is your stress level, what is your physical activity program for the day, how much you do physically, how much you have to sit down, and how much I mean, things as simple as the computer. If you don't move your hands in a different way, you're going to start having tendonitis and syndromes that will affect your mobility of your hands. Now, if you're a computer guy, which I think in this time and age we all are one way or the other, what are you going to do if you cannot type anymore? So all these things are so many, so important, so every part of every single minute of the day that we will never have enough resources to take care of all of us. What is the answer? The answer is very simple. We all have to become health experts, health caretakers. We have to learn how to do things. We have to know how to take care of ourselves. We have to learn how to eat. We have to know how we move. We have to establish our own physical program for the day, etc. So all these things have to come from us. Period. There's not going to be enough doctors, nurses, hospitals, centers to take care of just about everybody. And one of the good examples is high blood pressure, but I could tell you just about everything. There's something that's really a very important fact. From the beginning of mankind, we saw that the answer for protection was in gathering, in sticking together, in helping each other. Mankind would not have never survived if each and every individual would have lived in their own condo or place or you name it, their own cave, and try to feed himself and try to defend himself and try to do everything by himself. You'd be wiped out of the surface of the earth in no time whatsoever. So what we learned long time ago is that we needed each other to survive. We needed each other to be fed. We needed each other to be warm. And we needed each other to thrive. It was everybody or no one. It's that simple. And there is a point where not being together with somebody was a matter of life and death. And because of this original condition of group care, we learned two things. One, that we had to contribute to the well-being of the community by taking care of ourselves. We have to make sure that we didn't get hurt, that we didn't break a bone, that we didn't do anything, because our strength and our contribution to the community was very important. If I was a gatherer or if I was a hunter, I had to be in good shape to be able to bring food to the community. If I was a warrior, I have to be in good shape to be able to defend the community. And if I stayed home to cook, to clean, to everything, to help the little ones, I also had to be in good shape. So we had to learn that self-care was very important, was critical to the survival of everybody. And at the same time, we learned that we could depend on someone else. That if we get hurt, or if I go hunting, I can go back and I had somebody that prepared food. I had somebody that lit the fire. I have someone that prepares some clothes, and so on. So we learn two things. We have to take care of ourselves and at the same time take care of others. That was the key for humankind survival. And that is how we got to be who we are today. And I don't have to tell you that living in a community can bring a lot of benefits. Okay? Somebody is going to move the bus, somebody is going to clean the sidewalk, somebody is going to make a car, and somebody is going to build a house, and I can enjoy all those things because I'm also contributing to the community. But this is true also when you talk about health. You can help everyone around you. You can be a very important support of everyone around you health if you just do a little bit of your part. In other words, you bring good food to the table, you invite them to join in a physical activity, you have joyful time. Joy and enjoyment are big health boosters. So don't think it's just having a good time. When we're happy and joyful, there are a lot of hormones that get into action. There are a lot of brain substances and chemicals that get into action and help us to breathe better. They give us good heart rate, relax the blood vessels. In other words, a lot of good things are happening with ourselves. So don't take it like nonchalant. It's very important. It's very important to be happy. It's very important to feel good. But if you follow all these programs, if you join us frequently, you will also learn that even that good mood, even that happiness has a chemical root in how we feed and how we treat our bodies. That community sense that started with the people I shared the cave with became bigger and bigger, and then we started to creating bigger communities. And those bigger communities started to become, in no time, cities, towns, nations. And every part of them started developing their own system for self-care and for community care. So we started designing ways on how I could contribute, how I could help, how everybody else could help me too. And that is what has created the world as we know it today. The most important part is that this part is deeply rooted in our brain because it goes from the beginning of times. So we learn to do it. We have it by instinct. But all of a sudden, we have started breaking some of those rules, and unfortunately, we are paying the price. The reason why I'm bringing all this up is because today I want to talk about how we went out to look for answers for our patients. Because we don't know it all. And it's important to be humble. It's important to ask for advice. It's important to ask a question. And then, with all that information, it's very important that we learn how to put it in action, everything that we now know. And the last part is share that information. If that thing you learned has been helpful to you, share it with other people that might benefit from it. And that's what we started doing. Back in the 1960s and 70s, alternative medicine, even though it's medicine down to its primary roots, was not really understood because we had grown too used to what we call conventional medicine, which is you get sick, you go to the doctor writes a prescription or sends you to a hospital, does a number of blood tests or x-rays, tells you what you do, and you get cured. Well, number one, that's not true. That doesn't happen necessarily in all the cases. Second, not everybody has access to medical care. And third, which is also very important, which is the words I began this program with, we do not have enough resources to take care of each and every one of us. So what that means is we have to learn how to take care of ourselves. And that is when BioCare started to listen to that international calling. In other words, I know we have a lot of problems in America, for example, with breast cancer. But I know that in Japan, they have a very low frequency. So to me, it makes a lot of sense to say, what are we doing and what are they doing? Is what we're doing producing breast cancer, or it is what they do blocking breast cancer? And then you start sharing with other peoples of the world their experiences and learning from them. And that has made medicine in general a very global, a very international activity. Because we all go to conventions, we all talk to doctors, we all want to know what you do in Spain or in Argentina or in the Far Orient. Because I want to know what you do that could help my own patients. That's why we decided to call International BioCare International. Because from the beginning, we started associating with groups and people across the world. Don't worry, we will continue talking about that. We're back. I'm Dr. Rodrigo Rodriguez, Medical Director of BioCare Hospital, and we're coming to you through the courtesy of Truth Be Told Radio Network. Remember that every Friday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and if you miss it, repeat 9:30 a.m. Saturdays, Eastern Standard Time, you're going to have the opportunity to join us and share with this information and this conversation that I hope is going to help you get to a point where you're going to be your self-caretaker. You're going to be learning on how to take care of yourself, how to do better, how to be healthier. And once you do that, it's just like with the airplane, the mask drops, use yours first, so you are in the possibility of helping each other. So that's what you have to do. We have to be healthy because we have to be responsible for us and for others. And this really comes, we were talking about, from the origins of time. We lived in communities because we could not have lived alone. Humankind would not have survived if we were not in communities, if we were not helping each other, if we were not helping ourselves. So this is very important. Some people feel good because they say, oh, I'm always helping people. But I'm not doing that well. Well, you're not going to be very long of help to anyone. You have to take care of yourself because it's your own strength, your own capacity, what's going to be making it possible for you to help other people. So when you don't take care of yourself, you're risking the good care you offer to other people. You see how important it is to think of ourselves? It's not selfish. It's not selfishness at all. It's the opposite. I want to do well. I want to feel good. I want to be healthy. I want to be strong, because that's the only way I can deliver. If I'm frail and sick and weak, well, you have to take care of myself. I won't be able to help you in any way. So it's important that we start thinking in that direction, because that's the only thing that's going to pull America ahead with the health challenges that we're living with. We cannot just wait and see what the doctor says. We have to begin today. I was having a conversation with a good friend of mine, and she was telling me, but what can you do? I mean, you have an appointment with the doctor. Isn't that enough? No, it's not enough. Because I talk to many people that have, for example, diabetes or high blood pressure. And then I ask them, how are you doing? And they're saying, I think I'm doing well, but I have an appointment in November. You say, okay, your appointment is in November. What are you doing today? Well, I'm taking the medication the doctor gave me. That's all you're doing? You're not thinking of what you're eating today. You're not thinking of physical activity today. You're not thinking of doing something good for yourself that's going to enhance your health. We all know what's good for us and what is not good for us. And we have all sorts of excuses of, or just one chip, or just a little bit, or just this time, or just today, or it's my birthday. You see? But we fail to help ourselves. And the more you see it, the more you learn. I was telling you that BioCare became an international operation from the beginning because we wanted to see what other people do, what other doctors do, what other programs do. And when I was beginning as an alternative medical doctor, I heard, for example, of life cell therapy. And that was Dr. Paul Nihans in Switzerland, or Dr. Schmidt in Germany. And I went. I mean, I want to see. I mean, we didn't have internet. We didn't have Zoom. We didn't have any of those things. No, you got on a plane and went to Europe, or went to Japan to see what they were doing, or to South Korea, or China. I started going to China when it was still a little bit difficult to get in there, but I was looking at what they are doing with their patients, what health challenges they have, to Thailand, and so on. And we learned from each one of them. We learned, for example, there are a number of tests that we do that are practically proprietary to BioCare, because very few people do it, like the Agosti test, which is a test in which you can foretell long time before it happens an inflammatory problem, even cancer. And it's only a very easy to do from the patient point of view blood test, because you're going to have your blood drawn, period. On the other side, you have a laboratory that's highly specialized, that uses a very specific technique, very specific equipment. But they can tell me, this patient is going in the wrong direction. Her liver will be in trouble in no time. It might be developing a malignancy, or has a very low immunity. This person could face a cancer or a deadly disease in no time. And that I learned from Dr. Agosti in Paris. And I went there and I stayed with him, and I went to his lab, and we took blood samples and we saw patients. but you learn from other people. Probably many of you have a job that do the same thing, that has the same type of experience. Because, for example, if I'm in the world of construction, you might be possibly looking at insulation and say, oh, I'm going to learn this from these places, and I'm going to learn that from that other person. Actually, let me tell you something. We normally go about once a year to Toronto, Canada, and I was fixing my house, trying to save money on air conditioning and so on. And I was walking by a sidewalk, and you had these things that push you to the other side because they're building. And before I went around, I saw they were putting something that looked kind of strange. It was not the type of material I used to see. And Toronto is cold. And I asked one of the guys, I said, what is that paneling you're putting there? And he says, oh, it's a brand new, not contaminating insulation panel of cellulose. Cellulose is a carbohydrate. It's made of plants. So it's very eco-friendly, but it's very efficient and inexpensive. What else can you ask for? So I look at this thing and I started asking questions. And the next thing I see is that this guy tells me, oh, come on in, and opens the door and brings me in and shows me the material. He says, look, pass your fingers. It will not stick to you. It will not produce any itch because it's not glass. It's not anything like that. It's very friendly. And you can breathe it in. Nothing will happen. And sure enough, as I returned home, I started looking for the material. I found it. And guess what? That's what I have at home. So you have to see what other people do. It's very healthy. It's very rewarding. It can produce a lot of resources because many times other people think of something you have not thought of. And that way, in healthcare, you say, why is it, and this is a true statement, why is it that French people eat 3 times the amount of fat than the typical American? Yet, Americans have 3 times the frequency of heart and vascular disease, strokes, heart damage. If they're eating a lot less fat, why are they getting sick? And then you go and look at them and see what they do, what they cook. And then you see something important. Yes, they eat a lot more fat, but number one, they only use very natural fats. They don't really use vegetable oils. They use a lot of butter, real butter, and they use olive oil. Olive oil is actually the essential part of the Mediterranean diet that has been touted by everybody as the best way to eat. In America, we have a lot of industrial oils, grain oils, vegetable oils, as they call. And on the other hand, Americans eat 3 times the amount of sugar. And then you start by looking at other people's habits, you start looking at the difference. Now, if they were getting a lot of heart attacks and so on, of course I wouldn't be trying to do what they're doing. But no, they're doing better in that area. The Spanish people, for example. In Spain, you have olive oil. And they have even conducted very good studies where they follow people by who are only taking 1 ounce of olive oil every day, like a shot or in bread or you name it. But they take 1 ounce of olive oil every day. And you know what happens? Blood pressure goes down. And heart risk markers improve. Well, you learn something different. I went once to Thailand. And I don't know how many of you know that Thailand's health department, National Health Department, has a section for alternative modalities. And I was talking to the director of alternative medicine in the Thailand Health Ministry. And we were talking about cramps, leg cramps. What she did, she gave me very simple exercises, the same type of exercises you do when you go to formal ballet classes. And you can be old, you can still do it. Grab your bar and do the flexes and do the things that you have to do, and you're going to feel much better. I don't want you to go anywhere. I'm having fun talking about this. Stay with me. Friends, I'm back. I'm Dr. Rodrigo Rodriguez, Medical Director of BioCare. And one thing I'm going to ask you is to join us, to be part of this team. We have discussed already on how important it is to stick together and share points of view and learn from each other. So why don't we stick together? Why don't we help each other? Why don't we build our strengths in order to help other people to be stronger? Why not be caretakers of everybody around us, which can only be achieved if we know how to take care of ourselves? So that's why we decide to call our operation BioCare. BioCare because it is the care of life. And second, because caring is proactive. You cannot say, I care for you and do nothing. I mean, how many times we have had a fight with someone and you say you care about me, but you don't do anything. Which means caring means doing something. Being vigilant, being protective, being loving, providing, etc. Care is proactive. You have to do something in order to be caring. You cannot care and stay in a couch watching TV. No, you don't care. You might be having some feelings about somebody. You might be aware of somebody, but you're not caring for that person because you're not doing anything. You're not even keeping an eye on things. Okay, so we have care means a compromise. It means that a commitment. All that is what care means. That if I care for you, I'm going to be watching you, even if I don't interfere in your life. That might be what happens in many cases. You care for somebody, but you don't interfere with their lives. But you watch, you see, you're ready to help. You see what problems that person might be having or in what direction those problems might be going, and then you get ready to help. Or you talk to the person. That's caring. You know, I see this is happening. I don't want to interfere with you, but I think you should be aware of this or that. Because if we don't do that, we don't care. So that's why we chose the word caring. And the other one was international, because we wanted from the beginning to see what other places in the world do for their patients. Because there are many, believe me, many health modalities that we have learned from around the world. When you come to BioCare, you're going to be enjoying so much benefit from other places in the world that you will not even notice. But we have brought all those learnings, all those lessons, all those resources to make them available to our patients because we want to help. If you come to BioCare, I want to make sure I have everything I can to help you. And if that takes learning how to do this from that place or the other, that's what I'm going to do. So we not only travel through geography, we have also traveled through time. We started in 1970s, and the alternative medical care, the general medical care was different from what it is today. But many things have stayed with us. Because I had the fortune, I was mentioned Dr. Nihans in Switzerland, or Dr. Isels in Germany, or Dr. Smith in Germany, or Dr. Agosti in Paris, and other doctors, for example, in South Korea, in China, in Japan. And when you learn all these people, when you get to know all these people, you get to learn something. And when you are 30 years old, or 40 years old, or 50 years old, or close to 80 as I am today, well, I still can have recollections of things that I have learned through the years from people that have already left us. Nevertheless, I learned something from them. I learned a little trick. I learned a little way to do things. And that not only you bring to BioCare, but you share it with the doctors of BioCare. And you say, you know, Dr. Krebs used to do this. Dr. Reams, who started, for example, the idea that we can detect a lot of illnesses just by measuring the acid level of the body. And by doing all that, you learn a lot of things. This is a very frequent question I get from people. People tell me, doctor, is keeping the body acid or alkaline, is it a good thing one way or the other? And yes, normally everybody is going to tell you, you have to keep your body alkaline, not acid. So if you were able to measure the acidity level in your saliva, urine, in generally in your blood, and you have a tendency to go acidic, you have to try to make it the other way. But the body is not a base. It's not a test tube. So don't think that if you have this glass of acid and I put this much of alkaline substance, that's going to be the answer. No, the body gets acid or gets alkaline because of its metabolic functions, because the way the chemistry of the body works. So if you put certain products or garbage in your body, like fried food, refined sugar, your body tends to become acid. But if you get away with those things, wipe them out, and you start using fresh fruit and vegetables and doing exercise, your body will go to alkaline level. So it is not that you make it, because we're not a test tube. We are a very dynamic metabolic machine that is going to go one way or another depending on what sort of foods you offer the body. If your foods are going to make you acid, like sugar is probably one of the most important ones, your body is going to become acid. And you can take soda carbonate if you want. But that will not make a difference, because your body is going to come right back to acidity because you're generating the acid. So we have to learn to do all those things. And it's good to review many times what other people did. And once again, I'm sure many of you that are listening to me can recall a good advice of someone that's been gone long time. but who told you, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? One good example of that experience has been Dr. Alivasatos from Greece. Dr. Alivasatos was a Greek physician that started working on the belief that if we could use certain amino acids, certain vitamin products, that we could change the way the body reacts to disease. And he became a very important person because he was dealing many times with cancer. And he had excellent results. Well, one day he treated some people from America that were in the position to offer him, why don't you come to America and do the program here? And then he convinced Dr. Alivisatos to leave Greece, come to America, and start working in America. And he did it, except that he could do everything but actually inject the treatment to the patient. So he came south of the border, and he did all the preparation, everything came, and then we just used the injectable part for it. And we started doing that, I lost count how many years ago. But it has been very successful. We do it to this day. Dr. Alivasatos been gone for many years because actually he was an older person when he first came, and then he passed away. But all his lessons, all his teachings stay with us, and we still profit from him. We started working, for example, at one point with snake venom derivatives. And once again, this was a fantastic person who used to deal with poisonous snake products. He had a snake farm. He would milk, if that's the word, all the snakes and produce a very high quality snake venom, lyophilized product. It was very expensive, but you need a tiny, tiny, tiny little thing to have a good effect. And you can stop a clot from happening. It's been used to treat, for example, infarction. You have a heart infarction that's in the process of establishing, and these snake venom derivatives can stop it in the act. And he started working in some forms of lymphomas, leukemias, this type of cancer, and we also had a great experience with him. So people, through time, has left us a lot of learnings. And you might not be doing everything they told you to do. You might not be reproducing their whole program. But yes, we still do alivisatos. Yes, we still some important immune stimulants like not necessarily snake venom derivatives, but you can use bee venom derivatives. You can use other challenges, immune challenges that work in the same direction. You work with vitamins. You work with a lot of things that we can benefit from their experience. We can put them together. We offer to our patients, and many times in combinations with some of this and some of that, we have what I would call miracle results. So it's important that we think of all of this, that we think that you're going to be in a place that has a long and a very wide experience with alternative medicine. So let's talk more in the next segment about BioCare Hospital. Friends, let's talk about BioCare once more. I'm Dr. Rodrigo Rodriguez, Medical Director of BioCare Hospital. And I have been telling you in this broadcast about how we not only created a medical institution that followed the principles that we believe in, that nature and God and everything happens because everything has been created in that way. So what we have to do now is kind of look for those ways to bring back health. And the discovery is very simple. The discovery is we were created in perfection, and we were given a world to live, a world to thrive in, a huge assortment of things to feed from. But we started making changes. We started thinking that we want to live in a different way. We want to have more fun, or we're going to start ignoring. And economics got on the way because there are a lot of industries whose main interest was to provide you with a lot of food at the least possible cost, economically speaking, but a very high cost in biological care. So we had to, when we started doing all the work, and I'm talking about the beginning of BioCare, I have to see that all we wanted to do is live as we lived before. Go back. Don't take a step further. Go back. Go back to the ways we used to live. Go back to the foods we used to be fed with. Go back to a lot of things because that was good. I was listening to a bread maker. He's kind of famous bread maker because he makes very good bread. And they were saying, and what is your secret? And he says very simple, well, excuse me, I just work with good flour, with good quality flour, and I ferment my bread. And then he explained how fermenting the bread, which is a bacteria that grows and feeds on the flour, consumes part of the gluten and part of few things, and makes bread a lot more digestible, so we can eat it well. And when you think of bread, that's the way bread began. Thousands of years ago, we learned that fermenting bread was the way to eat wheat and to get advantage of it. But we started making changes. And the man ends with a very good phrase. He says, you know what? It's very simple. The food is what it is, but we have changed it. It's not that we are any different. It's that we stopped eating what we had to eat and then start changing it. For what? To me, mainly for economic gain. If we make bread with baking soda, it's going to be cheaper because you don't have to ferment it. It hasn't to be there overnight, etc. But then you have the full amount of gluten. Nothing is going to happen. And what happens? Then you're getting an overload of gluten. And then you say, oh, I'm gluten intolerant. No, you are intolerant to bad quality bread, which is what the food industry is offering us. Who's to blame? Ourselves. Because we don't think what products we want to buy. I had a very important doctor that used to say, the industry is going to go wherever your wallet goes. So if we keep buying bad food, they will keep making it, and they will continue to profit from it. But if we start being more selective and take our wallet to the better quality food supply, things are going to change. But the same happens with care, with physical activity. And physical activity, once again, is not getting a pair of sneakers and jogging for 5 miles. No, physical activity is moving. Do things at home. How many times you're at home or in the office and you tell somebody, could you bring me a glass of water? When we should step up, make few steps, get our water, drink it, come back to our seat. Or could you bring my car's keys? They're on my night table. When we should have stood up, go upstairs, get the car's keys, and come down. So it's physical activity means do everything you can every time you can. There was a very important actor that looked fantastic. I'm talking of the times of Rock Hudson and Cary Grant. And they asked Cary Grant what you do to keep in good shape. And he says, I have always noticed that children run. They never walk. So when I want to bring something from that part of the house, I run. If I want to go upstairs the house, I run. Because children run. And we drag ourselves. So move faster. I tell many times people, I see people that walk, for example, they're walking down the sidewalk, and I see them coming to the hospital and so forth, and I said, okay, let's do this again. Go back to that distance, come back, but go faster. They say, but I'm not in any hurry. No, it's just you have to get used to walking faster. Use a little bit more calories. If you can increase in 5 calories, 10 calories, all of a sudden you're going to be spending 500 calories more. And remember this is something that we forget all the time. When we exercise, we might spend 50, 100, 200 calories. Doesn't matter. What matters is that's going to set in action our fixed furnace for body temperature. We're going to go up in the thermostat. And the body, instead of staying at 98 degrees, is going to go to 98 and a half. And that half will work through 24 hours. So it is very well proven. If you can raise your basic temperature, you're going to be spending 500 calories in 24 hours, even if you don't do anything. But you have to get that into action. And the only way you can do it is if you run for little errands, if you walk more, if you move more, if you take your vacuum cleaner and start doing a lot of moving activity and relaxing the muscles, all that's going to relax your muscles. And you know what? When the muscles relax, because they're not as tight, the blood flows. And if the blood flows, you're going to be healthier because life is in the blood. Literally. So that's what we have to do. And through all this learning, through all this information that we have gathered here and there, or from this absolutely fantastic physician that we met 40 years ago or 30 years ago, that left us a lot of teachings, we have been able to implement a program where when we see a patient, we can say, this will help you. And many times people say, doctor, where did you see this? How did you? I've never seen this. No, but it is fairly frequently done in South Korea. Or this is done in Spain. Because that's what we have to do. We have to continue sticking together. We have continued to be very close together, taking care of ourselves and taking care of everybody around us. If we don't do it, we will not survive, or we will be ill all the time. And you're looking at it. When you turn your around, you have more and more people with cancer, with heart disease, with diabetes, with high blood pressure. The more and more the conversation is, what are you taking? And you know what? We shouldn't have to be taking anything. We should be eating right. We should be enjoying our lives. We should be exercising. We should be moving. And all that together is going to bring us a much better well-being. We're going to be healthier. We're going to be more functional. And then don't forget the other part, because that's also very important. Don't forget your mind. Don't forget your spiritual life. Don't forget your family life. I mean, come to terms with things. Eliminate stress. Stress is very bad. Stress can give you cancer. Stress can make you diabetic. Stress can give you a deadly disease. You don't need it. So you have to learn how to manage it. You have to learn how to not consider it as very important. Disregard. If not, you're going to be sick. I will say that a high-stress life is a pre-cancer condition. So don't let yourself fall into that. But I'm telling you, and I'm telling you because I know it, that if you come to BioCare Hospital for 2 weeks on a health getaway trip, you're going to break all habits. You're going to kickstart a new you. You're going to get a lot of lowering of inflammation, getting rid of weight, relaxing muscles, improving blood flow, healing, a lot of things. I have had people that say, I didn't feel this good in years. You have to do it. Your next vacation, you have to think of BioCare. Why don't I spend that time, that money in just helping myself? And come back and teach people how to do it. And have a healthier, a more joyful family. And share it all the word with everybody that I know. I will see you next Friday, and I hope you join us. And don't forget, I welcome all your questions.